Okay, here we go. Okay, number 3, look. Okay. Notice the blue does not apply because we don't have a limit where x is approaching infinity. So we just skip that thought completely. We go to the green step, factor and divide. The only reason we're factoring is so we can divide. So I look up here and I put an equal sign to indicate that I'm going to rewrite the limit. Notice the top can be factored. I write it as 2 separate fractions to emphasize what comes next. You'll need to talk about what I just did in green. Cool. So now I can see that it doesn't really matter when x gets really close to -4. Well, there's a problem. When x is exactly equal to -4, this will be 0. So right here, this would be 0. When x is exactly -4, this would also be 0. And so this fraction here, when x is equal to 0, this would become undefined. So it's not a part of this problem, but I can tell you that for this formula, if this were the function f, when x is equal to -4, would be undefined. Because we don't know how to handle 0 divided by 0. Questions about that? That's not part of this problem, but it will show up in some future stuff. Questions? So we're finding a limit. We don't have to worry about this, because if we're finding a limit, we're not thinking about x ever equaling -4. We're only thinking about x being close to equaling -4. So if x is only close to -4, then we have something divided by itself that's going to equal 1. So again, we get a much simpler limit problem that looks like this. Questions? Cool. So now we are supposed to find the left and right limits. But it doesn't really matter whether we're checking x being a little more than -4 or a little bit less. Close to -4 subtract -5 is close to -9 for both cases. So you can now say that overall, the limit as x approaches -4 is going to be -9. Questions? It's all about finding x and y. They're telling you what x to be thinking about. That's x equal -4. They're giving you a formula to calculate any y coordinate. And we're just finding a way to calculate that y coordinate without a calculator. Cool. We need to find the horizontal asymptote. It says we're supposed to find the limits as x approaches infinity. There's no need to go back to the beginning again. The limit here in blue is exactly the same limit problem as this one, because this will always equal 1 as long as x never equals 4. So it doesn't matter what, well, in fact, when we're approaching infinity, we're a long ways away from equaling 4. So we can do a simple limit problem like this. We can say we just need to find the limit. So we're doing the asymptote thing now. So we're looking for no equal sign. We're doing something new. we're finding the limit as x approaches infinity of simply x subtract 5. Write that down. Questions? So now you answer and get some extra credit. As x grows forever, this is the y-coordinate. So when the x-coordinate is growing forever, what do we expect the y-coordinate to do? Hands up. Just look at the computation, don't overthink it. What do we expect the y-coordinate to do, Lauren?
Get bigger.
Just keeps getting bigger, because all we're doing is taking whatever the x is, subtract 5. So as x grows forever, y also grows forever. How many knew? 0.2 for Lauren. We want to talk about it. So just write it down. As x approaches infinity, y also approaches infinity. Now we need to think about what's happening the other direction. So please raise your hand and tell me what should be written in the black box. Here we go. We'll get a few more. Never take points if you're not raising your hand. It's how I keep track of whether you're following me or not. So let's go Hannah Evans.
Will it also approach infinity?
Nicely done. So as the x becomes increasingly negative, we're just taking another 5 off of that, so it's going to just get more and more negative. Raise your hand if you honestly knew that to be the result. 0.2 for Hannah. Okay, we do not have a horizontal asymptote because as x approaches positive or negative infinity, the y-coordinate is not approaching or equaling some finite value. It's growing positively and negatively, so that's not a horizontal asymptote. So just write on your paper, no horizontal asymptote. Questions about anything? Focus is perfect. Sweet. Let's do another one. Stop the recording.